1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7. Right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so she has it on her left foot, and we're gonna count 7 left foot. Ready, go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7. Good. And then you see the hurdle line, 9 feet for newer girls. 9 feet is a good hurdle spot. And then they back up to 10, 11, 12, and then very advanced is at 13. A handstand shape is really important, and it's super, super difficult to do. So you show on the floor first. This is with rib cage up, and he's got a space under his back. As you can see, you can put your hand under. When you do it right, you're gonna push your rib cage down, and you're gonna try to push it so there's no space under the back. And that's a much harder position. The next step is doing it up against the wall, and starting with you can start with your arms down, and it's easier to get your back against the wall and push it in, and you can make them push on your hand, and then putting it up over your head and trying to keep that rib cage down. It's very difficult, but it teaches them the shape that they're trying to do for their handstand. The next thing we can also do is looking at your hands in that shape. So it's really difficult to look at your hands and get those hands back and keep your ribs in, but that's how we're gonna hold a handstand. We're not gonna hold our handstand with our head looking in. We're gonna look at our hands.
For this one, you're gonna lay down on your stomach, and you're gonna try to put your armpits down on the floor, trying to get your ribs up off of the floor. So pushing my arms down, and then now trying to get those ribs up.
When you start going to the handstand, you want to start with stomach to the wall. Make sure they can do a proper shape there first. They can get into a much better shape looking with their head in, but you also want to train them with their head looking at their hands and flattening your hips so that there's no gap by the wall. If they have that really, really strong, then we start with the back to the wall. And this one's a little harder. You want to try to get your hands as close to the wall without falling as you can. Right? And hit a good shape with your handstand back to the wall.
All right, for back hip circle shapes, we're doing rounded back, long neck, head is neutral, pushing down on the bar shapes. We want to show a nice round shape, pushing, head is neutral.
You can go forward, see if she breaks.
Keeping the body straight, pushing. And always try to remind them to push their body up above their leotard.
And around backwards. Okay, she broke shape a little bit, but that was pretty decent. Good job. There are a few parts of the tap swing. First, there's the round part where your chest is in. You're not really closing your hips, you're just rounding in the chest. And then there's the arch part of the tap. That's both done in the back swing. So you're gonna hit both parts of that, and then you could teach them to beat swing. Just rounding and arching. And then you get up on the blocks, and this is where we're gonna practice it. You're gonna round in the back, try to kick something in the back swing and arch. So you have to do 2 shapes, round and arch in the back, and then come forward and round and get back up to the block. And round up, and a good shape. That's an excellent way to teach a tap swing. Okay, teaching a round off, it's really important to have the positions in place. So Brandon's starting with a good rounded shape. We're trying to reach over 2 items. Put your hands one at a time on a line. So we want your hands to be straight and have a nice reach out. So you always using obstacles, it helps the kids to do it correctly. So round shape, and 1, 2, reach on the line. Excellent. So the landing of the round off, we're trying to get them into what's called a C shape, and just your back is touching the wall and your butt is away. So we're trying to hit this position as they land the round off. It takes a really strong block to be able to get that and not land with your booty out in a butt shape. Okay, we're trying to set up the hurdle round off with power, so we want to put a mat at the end that's nice and soft, so when they rebound backwards, they're not going to get hurt, and they could try to land in that proper C shape. So he's going to show you your round off over the block, reach past the mat, and round through. That was extra powerful. Very, very nice. So we want to finish in that shape, but if you don't have a squishy mat, it's going to force them to land in a bad shape, sticking your butt out. And we don't want that. For tumbling, this helps you to do a back handspring very easily. In gymnastics, a front handspring is one of the most difficult skills to teach properly. Many times you'll see a front handspring land in a squat like this. You want to drill the proper landing of the front handspring, so you can have them go by a pole, hold on, press your hips forward and look at the ceiling. Hold this for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And if you keep drilling that, then they'll eventually be able to feel the landing shape. Teaching a front handspring, if they don't have real good block off of their hands and they land in an arch, they'll hurt their back. So when we first teach it, we want to do it off of something bouncy and onto something soft, because that'll help them be able to do it properly even if they don't have the correct block. And see the nice landing with her hips open and head back. That's excellent. Once you do enough of those, you can make it a less bouncy surface and then make the landing a little bit firmer. When teaching a back tuck, most kids will start with a no-handed back handspring and throw their head back. So in order to get rid of that habit, we do a candlestick jump and try to curl and roll down the incline. This is about twisting directions. So if you watch Taylor, if she jumps and turns to the right, you'll see her back first. So that is what you're going to need to see when she's doing a front with a half twist. When you see her do a round off, you're going to see her stomach first. So that means it's a left twist. Even though she's a right, if she does a right round off, that is a left twist. So if she right now does a front with a half in her round off direction, she will do it a no-handed round off. That is the wrong direction of twisting, because that's a left twist and she is a righty. So now she's going to show you a front with a half turning to the right, so you should see her back first. And that's the correct direction. So when you see a kid playing with no-handed round-offs, we want to stop them and try to teach them in the correct direction. When teaching back twisting, you want to start with a good setting layout with your head in, like the candlestick drills we did, and you want to ask them to land with their arms down, because when you twist, it does flip you a little bit, so you want to learn to set even better without rotation, so you want them to land with their arms down on a layout. The next step is a layout. Jump with a half turn. You pull your right shoulder back if they're a righty, and make sure they're twisting in the correct direction. Perfect. The next step is putting that together and doing a layout, leg twist at the end. The next step is a layout half with a jump half turn. Good job. Eventually, they will start turning it into a full. So you just do a half, look over your shoulder half, and if they keep going with that, it turns into a full just like that. Okay, this is some ring technique, and we're trying to show the proper ways for the boys to hold the ring. So Regan's going to get up on top and show the wrong way is with your hands facing forward, and then the correct way is you turn them out. That's the correct way to hold your rings. Awesome.
I got back into it.
Okay, so when you're swinging rings, in the front, your hands face each other. In the back, they face out. Right. And point your toes.
We're going to talk a little bit about parallel bar swings and the proper technique. What we're going to show you first is what not to do. You don't want to see piking in the hips at all. This is not really swinging. Notice how his shoulders and his chest aren't really moving. It's just his legs and his lower body. Okay, so what you want to do is stop. And from this position, you actually want to tell them to pull from their chest, and that's going to make them start swinging. Their body should not move at all. It should be like a straight pencil. Notice how he's getting a little bit bigger and bigger as he goes. That's just from the front pull in that swing.
We just wanted to go over a little bit of a basic circle technique because it's one of the most important positions for pommel horse, and it's one of the most complicated also to teach correctly. So yeah.
So here we go. Starting from the beginning. When we start in a circle, stop, freeze. What'd you forget? stand up. First thing you want to do, ask which foot they use for their cartwheel. That's the most important thing. Brandon is a righty. He tumbles and does his cartwheels with his right foot. Go ahead.
Yep, so I have a color band on my right foot. It helps me know which way I'm supposed to step and go. It's not the end of the world if you end up circling the wrong way, but just to keep things consistent, it helps out a little bit. So yeah.
We're gonna start in a good position. You want your hands about shoulder width apart. Hands should be turned out, fingers should be turned out. That's because when you go up, you get on the pommel horse and you grab in the pommels this way.
I'll face this way.
Oh, there we go. Hands are out. See, he's in a nice tight arch position. What we don't want to see is this. This is bad. We don't want that. Get your butt down. There we go. Nice tight arch. He is going to take one small step to the side, and then we're just going to start with a simple quarter circle. He's jumping to that quarter dot. See how he's pulling from right here. This is what gives you all your power. It's coming from your chest, pulling right there, and he's in a nice tight body shape. From there, he's going to go back. We're going to try a half circle.
Bear with me.
Oh, not bad. He's struggling. He's struggling. This needs to stay up. There we go. That's the position we want to see at the end. That's pretty nice. And keeping that hip turned this way so you can drive your heels around in the end is good. Now we're going to see if we can go to a 3/4 position. Everything is starting the same nice tight arch, little step to the side, and woo! That was pretty good. Same thing, you want to have that early hip roll. That's kind of what we're looking for. I'll show you a little bit more of that when we get in the bucket. And then you're going to try and go back for a full circle. Woo. Notice he ended in the same nice tight arch. That's exactly what we want to do. Okay.
Can I say one more thing?
Go ahead.
One more thing a lot of kids like to do when they start is they'll lift one hand up. Try to avoid that as much as you can. It's better if you just have both hands down. That way when you jump, you can kind of pull back a little bit more with that hand that's on there. My breath.
He's looking for in the bucket. That means this position, his hips are gonna face at a 45-degree angle away from the circle. Pulling from the shoulders, pulling from the chest, opening and rolling his hips early. And roll. How many are you gonna do there, Brandon?
I don't know how many you want.
I don't know. That's enough. Okay, so bucket is actually a really useful tool. It's some coaches are a little bit afraid of pulling the bucket down. Don't be. The kids absolutely love bucket. Notice we used the pommels. Yes, some kids are going to be a little hesitant with the pommels, but what happens is when you put your hands on a mushroom, the kids just walk around and they don't end up doing what they're supposed to be doing. With the pommels, the kids are kind of forced to stay on the pommels. It gives them an idea of where they're supposed to put their hands and how they're supposed to keep their hips going. Actually, one thing I do see a lot of when we do a lot of walk-arounds in Tomcats, we see a lot of this. I think most of you know, but that's wrong. I go opposite of Brandon. So, starting in the same nice tight arch, you don't need to step for this, but you just want to walk around and you're keeping that open feeling the whole way around. And then you get old and you can't put your hands down on the mushroom anymore. But then you're keeping that early hip roll and just walking around the whole time. Finish tight.
There are two different styles of hands and fingers. There are called tumbling arms, where your shoulders are squeezing up by your ears, and that's for tumbling. And then there's dance arms, where your shoulders are showing. We also want to know about fingers. So you want to try to touch your thumb finger to your middle finger and have good dance position. Over on the beam, when we're teaching a turn, you want to start with your finger not further than the middle of your chest. So we don't want to see kids wrapping their arm here. We want it out here. It goes to the side, and that's the turn position. toe to heel, toe to knee is a good passe, or coupe is toe to ankle. So those are good terms. The other thing we want to know is beam feet. Toe to heel, hips are square, so we're not landing with our feet turned in. If you want to focus down on your feet, this is very, very common and something we're trying to really fix with the older kids. So if you could fix it when they're younger, toe to heel is a really good beam feet training that we want them to do. Hip straight. On bridge technique, when you push up into a bridge, you want to go up and make sure that your hips are in straight alignment. So we don't want our feet turned out. So this is the wrong way with the knees pointed out. We want our feet to be straight. And if you look on this angle, you'll see that her knees are straight in line, and that's what you want to see. When you start training back walkovers, you can do a drill of putting your hands on the floor and your foot on the beam, but you don't want it turned out like she has it right here. You want the knee straight. The next step you can do is try to get their hands closer together so that you can get ready to do a straight back walkover.